Hey guys, I'm back continuing my streak of releasing these screenplays, and this one is Wonder Woman 3, subtitled Fall of the Gods. Now this one was probably one of my favorite ones to write just because I do set up for some future screenplays, and also at the same time it's really cool because I like Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's a really cool character to write about, and if you actually give her the time of day to do so. Now, I do recommend you guys check out my other Wonder Woman screenplays if you haven't, just to get some more background on the characters in this so you're not confused by any degree. And also, if you want to, check out the Aquaman ones because they all kind of fit in together, part of my Olympian duo, as I call it, because they're all connected to the gods of Olympus. And if you're a Shazam fan, I say stick around to the end of this because I do have some pretty cool nods to Shazam. So without further ado, let's begin, and as always, this is more of a listening experience than it is a visual experience. So the image will not change on the screen. It's for you to listen to the story I'm telling you. So, yeah, without further ado, let's begin. So the movie takes place 2 years after Justice League 2, which I also recommend you guys check out basically all my other screenplays, obviously, because, people seem to really like them, so I'm sure if you haven't seen them and you're a fan of the characters, maybe if you're not even a fan of characters, you may enjoy this. You may enjoy my screenplays. But anyways, we open up in Olympus with the gods arguing with each other, primarily Zeus and Poseidon. So Poseidon is frustrated with Zeus because Zeus, long ago they banned, all the gods agreed to, but Zeus kind of enforced a ban of the gods involving with mortals. Yet Poseidon is saying that it seems that even though there's that ban, Zeus seems to be getting around it, because he's continuously getting involved with issues regarding Diana of Themiscyra, to the point where Poseidon says, there might as well not be a decree, and essentially he's making it void. And, Zeus defends himself, saying that Diana is his daughter, thus, this is blood, transcending, a treaty, which further angers Poseidon, causing him to lash out, throwing a spear at Zeus. And the spear cuts Zeus on his face, causing him to retaliate with the lightning bolt at Poseidon. So we then see Zeus, with his foot on top of a struck down Poseidon, telling him to know his place. And we see at this moment, and kind of hear more so than see, Circe whispering in both Zeus and Poseidon's ears. So she is obviously messing with them a bit, really playing on, because there's always that sibling rivalry there, but, obviously she's really playing it up more. And she whispers specifically in Poseidon's ear, persuading him to say, to talk back at Zeus. And, he says that Zeus doesn't deserve to be king, mentioning how mentions how, Diana's his daughter, it goes beyond that, yet Poseidon made Atlantis, and he can't even be a part of Atlantis. He had to leave Atlantis, his own people, that he, the land he made and the people he brought to it, which, Zeus says that Poseidon is wrong, essentially, and Poseidon starts leaving, and Zeus tells him if he leaves Olympus, there will be war and between them two. And we hear Circe whispering things into both their ears, getting them more hyped up, more riled, whatever have you. And Poseidon doesn't stop moving, prompting Zeus to teleport in front of Poseidon with sword in hand, with Zeus's sword, which was in the last screenplay. So if you guys listen to that one, you can see some continuity here. And at this moment, Poseidon tells him to back off, and he doesn't. And we see Poseidon lift his sword, because if you remember, the Trident of Poseidon is technically with Aquaman. So he lifts his sword, and both of their swords clash, and I use that as a transition moment to Diana and Donna Troy sparring at Themiscyra. So, the swords, clash with each other, transitions to the swords clashing of Diana and Donna Troy sparring. Steve Trevor is there too, as they're all kind of somewhat relaxing. Diana and Donna Troy sparring is their version of relaxing, obviously. As far as they know, they've successfully found every Olympian artifact and returned it to Olympus or destroyed it. Diana and Donna Troy finished their spar before Diana and Steve end up returning to Argus, while Donna Troy stays at Themiscyra. Now, back at the Argus base in DC, Diana asks Amanda Waller why she's being called in, as she thought she was finished, since the only reason she was working with Argus was to recapture the Olympian artifacts that were scattered across the world. During the thing with Ares, which goes back to my first Wonder Woman screenplay. Go check that one out. And Waller does confirm that, that's why she was working with him, but tells her there's a new development that she believes Diana needs to look into before she officially, finishes her partnership with Argus. So essentially, giving some background, Waller tells her an explorer named Dr. Savannah, wink wink, discovered a temple in one of the pyramids of Egypt that was undiscovered beforehand. Now, Diana doesn't understand why this is important and concerns her until Waller reveals that in the supposed site, there are inscriptions everywhere. And one of the inscriptions says that this tomb was where the 7 deadly sins of man, the mythical 7 deadly sins of man, were entombed in after Pandora released them by something called the High Father Council. Now, one of those members reportedly was Zeus on the description, because I guess all this stuff was inscripted in the tomb. And Waller tells her that Dr. Savannah was actually killed by a surge of unidentifiable energy, which is what got Argus's attention in the first place, because they detected that energy surge. And, because of what's happened with the boom tubes and the parademons, obviously any unidentifiable energy signature, gets their attention. But this one, since it deals with mythological beings, they thought that, or at least Amanda Waller thought, that the proper person to send to look into it would be Diana, as she's basically the residential Olympian. And Diana agrees to take upon this mission, saying that it will be her last one, before suiting up as Wonder Woman and going. But she does take Donna Troy with her, who also suits up as Troya. And in case you forgot, by the way, I'm not doing Wonder Girl. I'm giving Donna Troy her other alias, which is Troya. I said that in my last screenplay, but if you didn't listen to the last Wonder Woman screenplay, I'm bringing it back up again now. So they both go to Olympus, where they're there, where the gods are just going at each other. Zeus and a certain amount of gods still following him are going at Poseidon and a certain amount of gods following him. And it's just brutal all across the board. I would really hope the director that would be, if they were to ever make this a movie, obviously, which they probably wouldn't, but I'm hoping that the director would be a very visual director, in a sense where, some of the Olympians are obviously gods of certain things, and I would hope that the director would be smart enough to represent that. So, example, Hermes. I would hope we could see Hermes going just dashing across Olympus, just killing people. And also the same thing, Zeus, lightning, Poseidon, water, Apollo, fire, things like that. I would hope to see a lot of that, not just like in Immortals, for example. I didn't like how the gods were basically just super fast, super strong humans, and that was it. Give some personality to their abilities. They're gods of certain things for a reason. That's how I view it. So they head over to Zeus's throne, where they see Circe sitting on his throne, surrounded by the 7 deadly sins. Now, Troya and Wonder Woman immediately attack Circe. Check out my last Wonder Woman screenplay for the history there, which starts a lengthy fight. Now, Troya gets Circe in a lock, which gives Diana, or Wonder Woman, the time needed to put the lasso of truth around her. Yes, I remember that's still around. And they ask her how to stop, what she's doing, what's going on. To which Circe grins, saying that it's beyond her control now. And this is when we get some background to the fact that basically Circe, with the 7 deadly sins of man, were able to manipulate the Olympians, really playing on the emotions that were already there, but that originally would be in check. So, like I mentioned earlier, Zeus and Poseidon are siblings. There's always, siblings fight all the time. But pretty much the 7 deadly sins of man, with Circe also helping them, were able to pretty much augment those emotions, augment those feelings way beyond the point they would originally be in. To the point where now we have a war between the two, I guess, gods of Olympus, like the big two. I don't count Hades, because he's always just kind of doing his own thing, doesn't really care about Olympus. While she's grinning, saying it's beyond her control now, we see Zeus lift the Master Bolt, which obviously is very powerful, and he just lets out a yell, killing every Olympian. Doesn't matter if it's on his side or, Poseidon's side, he kills every Olympian. Big power moment there for Zeus, Yeah. But anyways, Wonder Woman and Troia see this, obviously horrified, and Wonder Woman does what I think is the natural thing she would do, which is she stabs Circe and then lifts the sword up, which goes through, obviously, her body and kind of splits her in two, which would be very graphic. So I doubt, the director would show that, but I just think, Wonder Woman really wants to make sure she's dead at this point, and that's one way you can really make sure she's dead. Now, Olympus lies in ruin at this point, and it's real bad. And Zeus is able to get, he gets control of himself again, he's himself again. And he's also horrified. He's standing over the bloodied and dead body of his brother Poseidon. And, this obviously impacts him greatly. He's very upset about this. And Wonder Woman and Troia ask Zeus if they can undo what he's done. If there's anything that can happen, but Zeus says it's too late. Once the Master Bolt kills someone, essentially, they're done. It's both a physical death and a magical death. So he does tell them, though, that they need to go to Themiscyra because he's sensing that the 7 deadly sins are in Themiscyra now, attacking Paradise Island. And Zeus teleports Diana or Wonder Woman and Troia back to Themiscyra so they can help the effort there and hopefully kill the destroy the 7 deadly sins. Now, at this moment, Zeus does something that's never been seen before. And it'd be really cool to see on film, but, no god has ever been heard of doing this before, which Zeus can pull off, obviously, because he's the king of the gods, he's the most powerful of the Olympians, but using the Master Bolt to enhance his own magical abilities, he extracts the essence of various gods whose souls were not corrupted by the 7 deadly sins of man. So, all the souls, or not all the souls, but all the Olympians were manipulated in some way, but the Olympians that were with Zeus were less so than the Olympians that were with Poseidon, because the Olympians that were with Zeus were more so just sticking with Zeus more than being manipulated to go against Zeus, if that makes sense. So, since they're all powered by the same type of energy, the same type of magical energy, which is called, as a nice nod to comics, call it the living lightning. But anyways, all their energy is able to be put into the Master Bolt, because all energy, can be converted. You can't create or destroy it. And Zeus then, says the following spell, calling upon the soul of Athena, which, he calls her by her title name, which is Soteira, Soteira. I probably mispronounced it, but more specifically, he extracts her wisdom. Then next, he calls upon Hercules' essence, more so extracting his strength. Then Atlas, stamina. Then he goes to Achilles, taking more specifically courage. And then he goes to Hermes, but he calls him Mercury by his title name because, for some of these people, they really mean a lot to him, so he calls them by their title. And in my world, so to speak, the Roman gods' names were more so titles than their actual names. So he calls him Mercury, more so taking his speed. And then he finishes this off by proclaiming his own power into it as well, which is obviously the Master Bolt, so technically I guess the power of Zeus. And Zeus then finishes the spell by yelling Shazam. And at this moment the Master Bolt shoots up into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. And this is basically me creating Shazam. I'll explain more of it when I finish the screenplay, what exactly this means. I couldn't find a reason to put the Wisdom of Solomon in there, so I did a lot of research, and I found out that Athena also had a title that started with an S. So that was pretty cool and very fortunate, actually, because it makes sense continuity-wise with all of them being Olympians at this point. So Zeus then summons his sword back to him, the Sword of Zeus, and he goes down to Themiscyra, joining the raging battle below. And he obviously, as soon as he gets there, instantaneously slaughters a few of the sins, and also a large chunk of their army, which is made up of mostly corrupt Amazonians and Argus soldiers. Now, the reason why there's Argus soldiers there is because obviously Argus had been having some sort of partnership relationship with Themiscyra, as Diana was working with them. So during this battle, Wonder Woman's mother, who I have the hardest time saying her name, Hippolyta, I think that's how you say it, it's Hippolya, she gets stabbed by a corrupt Amazonian named Artemis, who in the comics usually is a rogue Amazonian to some degree. So I kind of took that and went with it a little more. But Wonder Woman then sees, obviously she sees this, causing her to punch Artemis with enough force to crack a mountain. I portray this as her punching Artemis, and Artemis basically flying off the camera to the point where you don't even know where she is. And at this, immediately after that, obviously she goes to comfort her mother as she gives Diana her final words. Now, she tells Diana that she'll be a great queen, because obviously Diana is next to take up the mantle of being queen. And she tells her that the only thing she needs are her friends and faith. And then she dies, leaving Wonder Woman with obviously a lot to grieve, which she does in the only way she knows how, by continuing the fight. Now at this moment, later on, there's only one sin left, and Zeus is about to slaughter this sin until Wonder Woman takes the sword from Zeus and the sin is begging for mercy at this point, like begging, have mercy, be a better person, yada yada yada, basically trying to save its ass. And Wonder Woman just takes the sword of Zeus and just destroys the sin. Which, it wouldn't be that graphic, because the sins, it's not like they're people, they're more like spirits, more than anything else. So, but anyways, afterwards, Zeus teleports elsewhere, we don't know where. I will say that in the after scene credits, though, leaving Wonder Woman with a partially destroyed Themiscyra that, obviously needs to be rebuilt. Amanda Waller personally comes to Diana, telling her that, Argus can help rebuild, but Diana declines her offer, saying that Amazons don't need anyone's help from the outside world, and they've always been strong enough themselves to do it. And if they could do it then, they could do it again. So Waller then tells her that she's no longer an agent of Argus, which obviously Sharon knew, but this is more so a formal kind of, saying of that, as she departs, with Steve Trevor also departing too, but not before saying his goodbyes and giving Diana a communication device. So the film would end with Diana being crowned Queen of Themiscyra as the sun dawns on a new age for the Island of Paradise. So that's it for the main movie itself. A few of you have asked me to do post-credit scenes again, so I decided to do one, which is Zeus teleports to the temple in Egypt, where Dr. Savannah freed the 7 deadly sins. And he looks specifically, though, to a part of the wall where there are no inscriptions, but instead there's the design of a man in black, and it's cracked, which isn't good, obviously. And he then looks with despair as he says he is freed, and that's where it ends for sure. So obviously, if you couldn't tell, that person in black, that's Black Adam, and the wall cracking was symbolizing him being freed from his imprisonment, which obviously is not on Earth, and we'll get to that during my Shazam screenplay, which will be coming up sometime after Justice League 3. Now, so comment below your guys' thoughts. Did you like this one? Did you like how I did the origin of the whole Shazam thing in general? Obviously, I'll go more into it in my Shazam screenplay, but basically I just turned Zeus into the Wizard Shazam. That was CJ's idea, by the way, because I was like, how am I going to do the Wizard Shazam? Like, how am I going to give him an origin? Because I went through a bunch of different versions in my mind, and CJ was like, and I was like, well, he has the power of Zeus. And I already knew I wanted to kill a lot of the Olympians off, because, I'm that evil myself. And CJ was like, well, why don't you make Zeus the wizard? And I was like, that's a good idea. So props out to CJ for that idea. And that's it for this screenplay. Hope you guys liked it. Comment below your guys' thoughts, and I'll see you guys the next one, which I think is